In Hillsborough County, the average family of four living in poverty survives on approximately $26,000 per year. Once housing, food, and utilities are paid for, families have little income left to purchase adequate clothing and hygiene items. OASIS is a grassroots nonprofit that empowers at-risk and low-income Hillsborough County students to break the cycle of generational poverty by providing them with the basic items like clothing or other basic necessities they need to fully engage in their learning and support their academic success. They believe that all students deserve equal access to the tools they need to be successful in school, regardless of their economic circumstances. Our friends from OASIS join us next on Bayside. Good morning and welcome to Bayside. I'm your host, Shelly Sanders. We are talking all about the OASIS Network, telling you doing big things for the kids of Hillsborough County. Mike Levine, welcome to the show. I'm so happy to have you here and be able to enlighten us and tell us exactly what it is that you're doing here. I know that I briefly talked about it in the open, but I'd love to hear it from your perspective, being that you are chairman on the board.
Thank you so much. And OASIS, which stands for Outreach Assisting Students in Schools, it's a small grassroots nonprofit that I'm really proud of. And it's good to be somebody that believes in the mission when you're on the board, and I really do. So this is a small nonprofit that started back in 2001. And it started with a group of moms who saw a need in some schools that they volunteered in. And they were able to sort of take their passion and something that they saw and really put it into action. Because what they saw was there were some kids in some schools they volunteered in that didn't have some of the basic necessities that many of us take for granted.
Sure.
So they quickly did some research and talked to some people and started this nonprofit. And that was back in 2001, so it was a long time ago. And it started with them just getting clothes from their own kids' closets and some friends' closets, and they started a clothes closet, and it's grown from there. So it's really created a great network and something that's really helping a lot of kids in our district.
Well, my goodness, 19 years in the making, obviously there's a need, and obviously you're doing something right because you're still around and it's still happening. So there's a pat on the back for
Thank you.
showing that you're doing something that's worthwhile.
Thank you so much.
That being said, the necessity of these kids, okay, something that a lot of people would just take for granted on the daily basis. You know, yes, the lights are on and you're having you're having food put on the table, but not much more than that. And when it comes to schooling, let's face it, being a kid sometimes can be a challenge just in and of itself. There's so many other things to worry about. You really shouldn't have to worry about, am I going to have school supplies? Am I going to have shoes that fit or clothing that fits to even be able to attend school? So something like this is very important, I would imagine.
It is, and I'm a school social worker by trade, and one of the things that we learned about, which many people have heard of also, is something called Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And basically what it means is if you are struggling just to get food on the table or pay an electric bill or something like that, then your focus is not going to be on other things such as school supplies, clothes, and that kind of thing. You're really focusing on just the basics.
Sure.
So, you know, Hillsborough County is a very big county, and people sometimes forget how big it is and how fast it's growing. Our county is it's the size of Rhode Island.
Right.
So it's huge.
That puts it into perspective for some of you, I would think. I mean, just to think about that for a minute, that Hillsborough County itself, the size of a state.
It is, and you know, people are moving in, and you only have to drive in in Brandon, Valrico area just for a little while to see all of the new growth going on.
Right.
So it's a big county, it's a very diverse county, and there's lots of needs. So we're here just to try to do our part, as small as it is, to try to make a difference in some
Right.
of these kids' lives.
Now, how do you go about finding these kids? I mean, I got to think that not all of them are coming to an adult or a social worker and saying, hey, look, I need some help. A lot of them, try to keep that quiet, wouldn't want everyone to know. How are you identifying which students are in need?
So one of the unique things about OASIS is they have a partnership with Hillsborough County Schools. And they partner with the school social work department. And there are a few hundred school social workers in our school district. They serve 1, 2, or 3 schools. And when OASIS was first starting, they quickly saw that there was a need to connect with families. And school social workers are kind of like the heart and soul of the outreach part of a school. So it made sense to start with that department because social workers are the ones who bring the home and the school together. So they're able to connect with families, and through doing home visits, through their work with kids on different teams at the school, they're able to quickly determine which kids may have a more significant need. And there's some kids who all it takes is some new clothes to give them a boost of confidence,
Sure.
to really put them over the edge. And there's a lot of kids who it doesn't take much, but it takes a little.
Right. And that's all that they need in order to become a successful student, which is heartbreaking, but it's also the silver lining there is that OASIS is there to be able to provide something like that, which could make all the difference in the world to them going on and being a successful student.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Yes.
So, okay, the next question for me is, okay, so say you've got these social workers that have found these students and they come to OASIS and are like kind of directing them in the right place. Perhaps maybe there's someone watching now, and certainly under the circumstances that we have now, not everyone's back in school. Some are doing remote learning and what have you. How do parents, that this is maybe the first time they've heard of OASIS, how do parents or families reach out to you or find out if they can even get assistance from OASIS?
So our connection with the schools, we try to keep that really strong.
Right.
And the school social work network is really strong. It's a very well-run, tight department that makes sure to have specific guidelines in place for reaching out to families in the community. So they try really hard to make sure that they are always reaching out, and there may be different community events that a social worker would go to, and then there's other advertising that goes on. And we're always trying to get the word out to families that there is some support here.
But they can go through, say, your website. They don't have to go through the school social worker, or should they reach out to their schools?
They definitely can reach out to the schools, and whether it's the principal, the assistant principal, the guidance counselor, the school psychologist, or the child's teacher.
Sure.
Sometimes the teacher is the first person they're comfortable with because that's the person they have the most contact with. Reach out. Just, the important thing is for a family to take the first step to want to try to get some help. We'll
Right.
take care of it from there.
Perfect. All right, so if you have any questions or you'd like more information for anything that Mike and I are talking about here today, of course, that's the website you're looking at right there. It's oasis-network.org, oasis-network.org. You can always log onto that website. It'll answer all the questions you have. It'll let you know how to get in touch with someone should you need it, or if you'd just like more information, or perhaps you'd like to help out with time or financially. All right, we'll get into that in a little bit, but first we're taking a break. Why don't you go check out their website? Welcome back to Bayside. I'm your host, Shelly Sanders. I've been talking with Mr. Mike Levine all about the OASIS Network here in the Bay Area, doing great things for our students, certainly those students that are in need, and something as simple as a pair of shoes or clothes that fit, or perhaps even some school supplies can be the difference between them failing and going on to be successful people in this world. I just love the fact that you guys have recognized this need. It's been around for 19 years. I gotta think that throughout those 19 years, you've seen sort of a difference. I mean, certainly there's the underlying consistent need, but you probably have seen ebbs and flows of other needs that come around as time goes on. I mean, and now with this year, everybody's seen strange and new things. So how have you evolved?
Well, OASIS originally started just at one school site,
Right.
and it then began to serve all the Title I schools. And now it actually serves all 250 plus schools in the whole district.
Wow.
We don't have closed closets at all those sites. We have 3 sites, but we have expanded to include every school in the whole district. And like I said, this is a big county and a big school district.
Yeah.
We are the 7th biggest school district in the country with lots of needs. And this is one that we're able to help try to meet. So each of the closed closets are set up kind of like a store. So when the social worker comes in, they may have a list of 3, 4, 5, maybe even 10 students that they'll come and shop for and get what they need. They then fill out a form so we can make sure to track everything and provide statistics to our donors and things like that.
Right.
And then they provide it to the families.
Wow.
Another really cool thing that we started, in 2018, we started a delivery program where the clothing items aren't delivered to the family's houses, but what happens is the school social workers fill out a form online, and then we're able to partner with the school district and their internal school mail delivery program and actually send things right to the schools. So it's like a delivery program to the schools, which saves a lot of time. Just like I was talking about before with the county being so big,
Yeah.
we could save half an hour worth of driving time
Wow.
just by piggybacking on an existing network.
Sure.
So that's been really good.
That's fantastic.
And we're always trying to be responsive to current needs. So there's families that, say they need certain items, whether it's hygiene items or school supplies or shoes or school uniforms.
Right.
We're trying to evolve so that we do that. And because OASIS is a small agency, there's only 2 employees and then a board of directors. We're able to make changes quickly
Oh, wow.
and be responsive.
Right. Well, that's huge.
It is huge.
That's huge.
Yeah.
And I would think too, with that little staff, then that also means that the financial assistance that you get from donations stays here in the area and stays within the network. Goes where it
Everything-
needs to be.
Exactly. Everything stays in Hillsborough County within the network of Hillsborough County schools and the families here in our community.
Sure. Speaking of, so how is it that, how do you make things happen then? I know that it's got to take manpower and finances, and otherwise, I mean, you can't function with 0 funds. So how is it, I mean, and how important are volunteers and donations?
Volunteers are really the backbone of what we do. So we have a network, like I said, we have 2 employees, 2 amazing employees, and then a board of directors. But the heart of what we do is the volunteers.
Right.
And there's a network of over 200 volunteers that help. And there's all different kinds of things that they do, whether it's volunteers for sorting clothes, folding clothes, taking clothes home and washing them, things you don't always think about. And it's not always the glamorous kind of activities, but it's the things that need to be done.
Right.
So they, through a network of volunteers, we have different community events. We may have a yard sale occasionally for some things that, we need to move. And so it's just really a team effort. Another example is during the current COVID-19 crisis, we're able to adapt what we were doing to meet the needs of kids when there was no school or when there was just e-learning.
Right.
So we made some changes really quickly.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So how can our viewers help?
Well, we always need volunteers.
Hint, hint.
We,
Yes.
Resources and community partners and donations and
And are you accepting clothing and hygiene
we are.
product donations?
Yeah, we are. We're always
Okay.
accepting. There's a bin at the South Tampa YMCA.
Gotcha.
And there's always a need for families to host a clothing drive, to host
great.
event.
Sure.
Or to contact us on our website to see what else we have going on at that given point in time.
Right. So basically, people, what Mike is saying is, if you have the will, if you have the desire, they've got a way to make it happen. So if you would like to donate your time, perhaps you've got hygiene products that you'd like to donate. I know a lot of traveling hasn't been done, and those little travel shampoos and conditioners could be needed. If you've got them, you can always donate those as well, clothing, etc. And there's always the need for financial assistance, but you can get all that information from the website you've been looking at, and that is oasis-network.org, oasis-network.org. Don't worry, we'll have a link for you on our website as well, cw44.com. In the meantime, why don't you go check it out? We're going to take a short break, but we'll be back. Welcome back to Bayside. I'm your host, Shelley Sanders. I've been speaking with Board Chair of OASIS Network, Mr. Mike Levine, and we've been talking about it here, talking about all the wonderful things you're doing to help out kids in need here in the Bay Area. 19 years in the making. Obviously, there's a need, and there's still one because you're still around. Won't it be nice when you're not needed anymore?
That's true.
Right?
That's very true.
Gives you goosebumps. So, speaking of needs, all of the things that we've been talking about, I can't imagine a child, what's keeping a child from making an A in PE is the fact that he can't dress out because he doesn't have tennis shoes. I can't imagine this, and it's heartbreaking, and I'm sure to some of you at home watching today going, that's a thing, but it is a very real thing, and it breaks my heart for that, so I'm so appreciative that you guys are around to be able to make these little adjustments in a child's life to set them up for success. Now, I also think about the flip side, those children that have had the advantages of never having to worry about not having a pair of tennis shoes that fit. So, I don't think there's a student out there that isn't aware of the Bright Futures Scholarship, regardless of whether they get it or not, but that exists, and with that comes volunteer hours, right? So, hello, you guys are there to fulfill that need as well, right?
Absolutely,
Talk
and we
about it.
will gladly sign off on those Bright Future volunteer hours. Kids need those for college.
Sure.
I speak from personal experience, having 2 in college right now. They need 75 or 100 hours or more
Right.
to qualify. So this is a great way to have kids get involved and to give back to their community a little bit. I'm not saying it's like going on a mission trip, but I am saying that for some kids, it may open their eyes a little bit
Sure.
to the fact that not all kids have maybe what they have. And we take for granted sometimes.
Absolutely.
Going to the store and buying some clothes or buying hygiene items, you think everyone has that same ability, and they don't.
Right.
So we definitely encourage teenagers, high school kids, even some middle schoolers with their parents to come in and help and volunteer and give back.
Sure.
So we encourage it. It's a great partnership. Oftentimes kids end up, they're not being sure, but they end up loving it.
Sure. Well, it's a funny thing when volunteering, isn't it? You go to help someone else out, and how ironic, you end up getting helped yourself in a soulful way. So I love that. So kids giving back to kids, absolutely. If you've got any high schoolers that are college bound that need those hours, what a great network to do that. And as a matter of fact, you could log on to oasis-network.org and help donate your time as well, or treasures, if you would prefer. You can always log on and financially donate to this network. So many beautiful things that you guys are doing, and it just seems something so simple, but it's so necessary. So if you'd like more information about anything that Mike and I have talked about today, oasis-network.org, that's the website you're going to go to. You're looking at it right there. Of course, the phone number is also on the screen. In case you get lost, don't worry. We will have a link for you on our website, cw44.com as well. I'm sure you could do a Google search of Oasis Tampa Bay and find it that way. Google's pretty good like that. All right, oasis-network.org, that's the website. Go check it out. We're going to break. As always, I want to thank you at home for joining us this week on Bayside. And of course, Mike, thank you so much for being here and enlightening us to the program that you've got going on. 19
you.
years in the making. And congratulations on hopefully making 20. And won't it be nice one day to not need you? That's the ultimate goal,
Very true.
right?
Thank you.
All right, they can't do that without your assistance. So if you'd like to donate your time, talents, or treasures, I can't think of a better network to do it with. oasis-network.org. That's the website. Go check it out. We'll see you next week. I'm Shelley Sanders.